जिंदाबाद अपनी MSO जिंदाबाद जिंदाबाद जिंदाबाद
and raiding Syria as well. So the role of the Israelis, as I mentioned, not only in Palestine, but the surrounding area. Syria was backing Palestinians in every possible way. It's actually the home of the Palestinian resistance. So they wanted to destroy the role of Syria towards the Palestinians, and they want to divide Syria for geopolitical strategy. You know that Syria also is rich in gas and oil. Lebanon is rich in gas. If we want to talk about the reasons of this terrorist war against the Arab world, we come to one conclusion. They want to seize the fortune, the natural sources of our countries, and divide it at the same time so they can easily control the area. And that affects us. We call it actually the Pan-Arab Nakba. What happened during this period between 2011 to 2020, it's a Pan-Arab Nakba.
Okay.
Now, just one thing that I want to emphasize on. In 1948, the United Nations was revising its resolution 181, which calls for the partition of Palestine between two parts, one for the Arabs and one for the Jewish people. This actually is an illegal recommendation and illegal partition, exactly, because the UN Charter and the regulations of the General Assembly does not allow them to partition any country or to move any part of the people from one place to another, or to bring some people from all over the world and help them settle down in another country. So all what happened is based, if we want to talk about international law, is a violation of the international law. Actually, we're doing something regarding this, and we're trying to raise cases actually in some of the Arab countries and some of the friendly countries, and we can talk about this later on. So what happened is, under the US and EU and the European colonialism, they hampered the Zionist colonial project. The methodology that was used, that God given this land to the Jewish people, is based on a false claim. And turning into this conflict, into a religious conflict, is again another huge mistake. The Jewish problem didn't start in Palestine. The Jewish problem started in Europe. And what happened to the Jews in Europe happened to most of the European people as well. We know that the Soviet Union, they lost 29 million people in the war against Hitler. In Poland, they lost. We don't want to go into the details of the Holocaust, but the Holocaust was turned into an industry in favor or in support of the Zionist colonial project in Palestine, actually, and in the Middle East as a whole. Last thing I want to mention, that Israel policy is not limited to a geography. They have their intelligence, the Mossad, can reach as far as Africa. They had a great role in dividing Sudan, north and south. They can reach to Ukraine and other European countries. They took a good part in what went in Ukraine, actually, the whole problem that was caused in 2014. The Zionists had a huge role in this, training the security forces, training
Amal,
the
Amal,
yes.
Amal, let me come in here, because you're going into other complexities, which is fine. We have 1 hour left. I think it's
then
important.
I want to talk about India and Israel. This is another huge thing.
Exactly. So I think, Shujaat, you please carry on. You went to Syria, so Amar had to bring in this entire thing. But I request Shujaat to carry on, and we'll take it from there. Shujaat, hello.
जी फिरोज भाई, चूंकि 1 घंटा बचती स्पीकर,
आप बोलो, अभी आप बोलो बिंदास में।
आवाज आ रही है फिरोज भाई?
आ रही, बोलिए आप, बोलिए।
मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ कि
मुझे सिर्फ 2 मिनट देंगे।
1 घंटा है।
बाद में सुरेश भाई, सुजात को बोलने दो।
हाँ बोलो सुजात, बोलो।
हमारे पास 1 घंटा है और हमारे बाहर के भी फ्रेंड्स हैं, तो आप उनसे कैरी करवाएं। हम तो फिर कभी करेंगे इंशाल्लाह, ठीक है?
नहीं, अमाल ने कुछ मुद्दा उठाया था भारत के बारे में, थोड़ा क्लैरिफाई करना चाहता था।
मरियम है, उन लोगों को कंटिन्यू कीजिए।
चलो ठीक, चलो।
Chirag, you please come in. I think Mariam is not in; she's gone out again. But Chirag, your comments would be good.
Thanks, Firoz, and thanks, Amal. Most of all to you. Really very, very educational also to get into all of these regional complexities. What I've been thinking is, all of this opposition, and I also spoke to 1 or 2 other people about it. All of these, this, halting opposition to what's coming, which is the annexation, or de jure annexation. It's really that the whole world really just wants to go back to pretending like there's nothing happening. They're opposing annexation not because they care about the Palestinians. It's because they want to go back to a time where annexation was de facto. It's basically nearly complete, and no one cares. Most of the world doesn't care, or at least the political states don't care. People might. So really the question is, on what basis do we oppose annexation? Because if we oppose annexation in this form, what I'm afraid is everyone just wants to go back to status quo, but status quo is never going to get freedom for Palestinians. Whereas, as has already been mentioned several times, even in this talk, progressive groups have long now been talking about the one-state solution. So really, is it really opposing the annexation as it's been announced today that is the best strategy if the long-term goal is freedom? Because if we go back to status quo, guaranteed there is not going to be freedom in the near term. At least that's what I think. It's a personal opinion. So if we want to move towards a one-state solution, what's the best way? Is it really to oppose the annexation? Is my question. By opposing annexation, we may not be able to get to the goal that is freedom. So then what's the right strategy to oppose what's happening, but not do it in a way where status quo becomes the default fallback? What do you think about this?
Can you repeat the last sentence, Shiraj?
What could be a strategy? The strategy for opposing this annexation, but where the default option is not going back to status quo, because that is not going to bring freedom. What has not happened for 72 years is not going to happen in the immediate future if we go back to status quo. So is the current strategy really going to be effective with the long-term goal of freedom rather than status quo?
Well, the thing is, the PA is repeating this over and over again, that they are defying the annexation plan. They're trying to unite forces with the Hamas and other factions as well. But the thing is that they are still attached to the two-state solution and the Arab Initiative. The Arab Initiative actually is, which was in 2002, and it was presented by the Saudi Arabia king at that time, actually is hampering and acknowledging and accepting the Israeli occupation of 1948 and establishing a Palestinian state next to it in less than 22% of historic Palestine. So we cannot actually go back to 25 years back and discuss the two-state solution, because this is not in the books for the Zionist leadership. They want the whole thing and beyond. So I think the PA is still in the same, let's say, in the same strategy for the two-state solution. The Arab Gulf states are now, improving their direct relations with the Israeli occupation entity, which was going to happen if the Arab initiative was approved and was accepted by the Israeli side. Remember, the Israeli side refused the Arab initiative. So everything that we present to the Israeli side, preserving the 1948 area, Palestinian occupied area, and trying to initiate another Palestinian entity, no matter what it looks like, the Israelis do not accept anything. Now the Zionist entity found out that regardless of the Palestinian opinion and views, and regarding of the Palestinian rejection, they can actually have direct relations with the Gulf states. Let's say they have a peace treaty with Egypt, they have a peace treaty with Jordan, and now the Gulf states are opening their hands for them. Saudis, Emiratis, Bahrainis, they have mutual relations and economic relations, actually trade relations from before, but now it's in the open. It was under the table, now it's in the open. So the Palestinian Authority has, and that's what we discuss with people here, they have only one option, is to go back to the people. And the people who rejected the Oslo Accords now are not bidding on it. They know that it's dead, they can't revive it. How you can revive something while your homes is about to be taken, is about to be occupied, or about to be demolished? They do not have a land to stand on so that they can say, yes, we agree with you, let's continue with the two-state solution. And that's where where our role comes, is if we want to put an end to this Zionist colonial project, it's only one way around, is to have a one democratic state all over historic Palestine, where all people can live under
equal rights,
under the law, equal, no discrimination, regardless of religion, regardless of color, regardless of whatsoever. That's the only solution. But this solution cannot be given to us in a golden platter. It has to be fought for, because the leaders of this Zionist entity will fight till the end. That's where our relations with the resistance, axis of resistance in Syria and Lebanon, up until Iran, our relationships with solidarity groups like India Palestine Solidarity Forum and elsewhere. That's how we advance with this project. We cannot advance with this project bidding on something that has completely gone, something that we cannot revive. And we need to emphasize that Palestine was colonized, and this colonization was part of the European colonization of the whole world. And that's where we have to start. that accepting the occupation of 1948, it's not going to lead us to anywhere. And this state, which was built on by violating international laws and by violating the human rights laws and by violating our